Unmuted.
And we are now live. This meeting of the City of Socorro City Council is set to begin. First and foremost, the City of Socorro would like to thank everyone and ask for your patience during this difficult time we have been presented with. Everyone, please remember to silence any electronics to avoid sound interruption. No disruptive behavior or outbursts will be tolerated, and violators are subject to call disconnection and possible prosecution. In accordance with Section 418.016 of the Texas Government Code and by order of the Office of the Governor issued March 16, 2020, the City Council of the City of Socorro will broadcast the meeting scheduled today, Thursday, August 6, 2020 at 6 p.m. from City Hall chambers located at 860 Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, via telephone conference and live stream in order to advance the public health goal and practice social distancing to slow the spread of the coronavirus COVID-19. The public that signed up during any presentation and any presenters will be called upon by the presiding officer during the meeting to speak during the public comment or their agenda item during the meeting following Government Code Section 551.042. La reunión del Concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro está por empezar. Primeramente queremos darles las gracias y pedimos su paciencia durante estos momentos críticos que enfrentamos. Favor de poner en silencio todo equipo electrónico para evitar interrupción de sonido. No se va a tolerar ningún tipo de comportamiento perjudicial o revoltoso. A quien no siga estas reglas, su llamada será desconectada y puede ser infraccionado. De acuerdo con sección 418.016 del Código del Gobierno de Texas y por orden de la Oficina del Gobernador, anunciado el 16 de marzo de 2020, el Concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro transmitirá la reunión hoy, 6 de agosto de 2020 a las 6 p.m. desde la sala del Concilio localizada en 860 Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, por medio de teléfono y será transmitida en vivo para tomar medidas preventivas para prevenir la propagación de la enfermedad del virus corona COVID-19 a los demás y por la seguridad del público. El público y los presentadores serán anunciados por el oficial conduciendo la reunión para poder hablar durante la sección de o comentario público después de la discusión del artículo de la agenda por cual se apuntaron siguiendo las reglas del gobierno 551.042.
The meeting is now called to order. Ms. Rodarte, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, establishment of quorum.
René Rodríguez,
Here.
Cesar Nevares,
Here.
Ralph Duran,
Here.
Mayor Elia Garcia,
Here.
Victor Perez is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Item number 4, public comment.
We have one speaker, Margarita Perez.
Good evening. My name is Margarita Perez, and I live at 10949 Mesa Drain Road. This will be the third time that I'm coming to you with an environmental health hazard that is next door to me. As you know, next door, 10930 East Bird, and behind my home, 10974 East Bird, are empty lots of land that have overgrown weeds and trash on them, and nothing is being done to clean them up. I know that the city has sent out letters to the property owners and that the court date has been set for August 18th. But what is being done now? Recently, I looked up the city of Socorro's charter looking for a solution after being told that nothing could be done because of their private property. Under Article 2, Section 28-21, I believe this problem could be classified as a health and safety nuisance. Under the charter, a nuisance is defined as whatever is dangerous to human life or health, or whatever renders the ground, the water, the air, or food a hazard or injury to human life or health, or that is offensive to the senses, or that is threatened to become detrimental to the public health. It is hereby declared to be a nuisance and as such liable to be abated. And the person guilty of causing, permitting, or suffering a nuisance to exist upon any premises or upon any building occupied or controlled within a street, alley, sidewalk, or gutter adjacent to these properties. Under Section 2822, nuisance can be classified as weeds, grass, heaps of rubbish such as garbage or impure matter. Under 2823, there can be an abatement by the city if the owner of the property does not cure any violations, or this article it can be done by the work of the city, paid for work done. I'm just letting you know that, I mean, this is not good for me. If I walk out to my house, it smells horrible. When it's hot, it smells worse. And just to let you know, I have contacted the office of Mary Gonzalez and also TCQ. Thank you so much for your time.
Mayor, that was our only speaker.
Item number 5, presentation of life-saving award. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, could we move item 22, item 24, and do this before item 5, since we are presenting to, with the chief? So I'll make a motion to move item 24 before 5. Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 24, discussion and action to approve and adopt Resolution 623, recognizing Officer Joshua Gonzalez.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Before, can I say a comment?
Go ahead, Mr. Rodriguez.
There, okay. This is something that we all say, and I believe that council agrees. I know that Mr. Duran always says the same thing. We do have good police officers as the city of Socorro has been growing. I know that we've come a long way since 2013. You know, our officers are professional. And this is just one other way that we can show that we do appreciate our police department and our officers. You know, and this is something that is good. We should recognize their good deeds, their efforts in the line of duty. This is something that is very difficult to do. And this is something that, you know, that needs to be recognized. So aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Mayor, may I say something also?
Yes, Mr. Duran.
I was driving to work, and on the Bobby Bones show, this officer was, they had a little piece about him, how, you know, we talk about above, you're doing their duty, but this, what he did was taking his life in his own hands to save that that family. But what he did afterwards is way above and beyond what is required. he bought that little boy a pair of cleats that had burned up in that house fire. That is that needs to be noted too. I mean, it was on the national radio show that what he did, and I think we need to also include that little extra bit uh, for this officer. Thank you.
Agreed. Good job.
Your vote, Mr. Duran?
Oh yes,
Victor Perez is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Ms. Navarro, do we need to read the resolution?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, would you do the honors of reading the resolution?
I am having difficulty opening it up.
Okay. Resolution 623, whereas on July 6, 2020, the Socorro, Texas Police Department responded to a structure fire, call of the 450 block of Bowman Road, and whereas upon arriving at the scene, Officer Joshua Gonzalez, with the assistance of the community, learned that a woman and a young boy were still inside inside the home and immediately sprinted toward the engulfed structure, and whereas without hesitation, Officer Gonzalez entered the home through a door with growing flames and assisted the woman and the 8-year-old boy. And whereas, through his selfless act, Officer Gonzalez displayed courage and exemplified the highest standard of serving and protecting the community. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Socorro Mayor and City Council that Officer Joshua Gonzalez be recognized for his selfless service to the community of Socorro. Signed, the 6th day of August, 2020.
Mayor, we do have Josh Gonzalez on the line in case you all want to tell him a little something. Josh?
Mr. Nevares?
You're a hero, my friend. You're a hero. Thank you very much.
Mr. Duran?
Officer Gonzalez, you bring, Socorro into a very good light. Listening to that radio show, which is on national radio, and hearing your name and the City of Socorro, you got us some very, very good recognition. And I know that at the time you didn't think. You just went in and your instincts took over. You saved that family, and you got that little boy his shoes, which is the best part. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Rodriguez?
I just want to say that, once again, we as council are proud of our officers. It's people like you that make us proud, that make us see and people around us, especially in our city, that love our police officers. The image wasn't that great back in the day, but like I said, officers like you bring the best in all of us. And I just want to say thank you because, it's very difficult to do the work you do. But you go above and beyond. Like Mr. Duran said, you went out after it was all said and done, you went and you bought this little boy some cleats. And that just says a lot about your character. It says a lot about our department. It says a lot about what we have in our police department. And I just want to say thank you and keep up the good work. And I hope that you stay with us until you retire. So thank you. I'm very proud of you.
I appreciate you, Ms.
Mayor, for the record, Ms. Ivan Colom Villalobos joined the meeting at 6:13.
I also want to, can you guys hear me? I'm not sure if I'm unmuted. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. I also want to thank you for your bravery. When I first heard the news, I was in shock because one of our finest acted quickly, you were selfless, and you put your life at stake, but you managed to save two beautiful souls. And so from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you I'm glad you're part of our outfit, and just keep up the good work.
Officer
Thank you.
Gonzalez, just to reiterate what everybody said, it's really hard having a job where your safety is at risk and you don't know if you're going to return to your family. And with everything that's going on right now, all we see on the news is police brutality, but it's these kinds of acts that, shine on all the good that police officers do. I think that every day when you put that uniform on and you go to work, there's a lot of little kids like this one that look up to you as a hero, as a role model. So thank you for living up to those high expectations and for making Socorro proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item number 5, presentation of life-saving award for Officer Josh Gonzalez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I actually have 3 awards to do tonight. If that's okay with you, what I'd like to do is do all 3. Obviously, you heard about Josh's exploits and his heroism, but I think it's fair that I also recognize not only another individual in the police department, but also a unit that has turned around from where it was when I first came to the police department. That's my detective unit. And they're actually out there solving major crimes now, as you'll see by one of these commendations. So what I'd like to do is read all 3, and then I absolutely would encourage any commentary that council would have. So the first one is the Life-Saving Award. This is a red and white pin that Officer Gonzalez will wear on his uniform, and it displays to every other officer in the department that he's received this award. On July 6, 2020, at 7:05 p.m., Officer Joshua Gonzalez was on patrol and observed a large plume of smoke in the area of North Loop and Horizon Boulevard. Officer Gonzalez, on his own initiative, responded to the area and found a large structure fire on Bowman Road. Officer Gonzalez received information from witnesses that were individuals in a residence located at that address, which is another structure on the same property. Disregarding his own personal safety, Officer Gonzalez went to the residence and found 3 individuals still inside due to the extreme heat from the fire. The 75-year-old and the 8-year-old were removed from the home for safety, and as the heat raged a mere 40 feet away from the structure. Mr. Alejandro Zuniga, who was employed with the El Paso Fire Department working out of Station 14, also assisted Officer Gonzalez. Officer Gonzalez is hereby awarded the Socorro Police Department's Life-Saving Award for his selfless actions in rendering aid to citizens in need. The second one is for Corporal Rodriguez. And this is because we recently went through a rash of vandalism and criminal mischief, and it was actually his heads-up policing while he was out on normal patrol that helped us solve this crime. On July 20th, 2020, Corporal Rodriguez notified the Criminal Investigation Division that during the early hours of that date, he had observed some suspicious activity in the area of North Loop Drive. The corporal had observed a black Dodge Challenger with its windows rolled down, and he observed that the left side of the vehicle had 2 flat tires, with blood on the outside and the inside of the vehicle, and a baseball bat in the back seat. As Corporal Rodriguez approached the vehicle, he was met by 2 male subjects who he had previous encounters with on calls for service. Corporal Rodriguez observed that the front passenger of the vehicle had injury to his hand, and he was provided with medical attention. But he took his initiative to photograph the vehicle before it was privately towed. His prior experience as a detective with the Socorro Police Department was evident in the case. Corporal Rodriguez displayed devotion to duty by exceeding what was required on a particular case. He didn't have a crime at the time of the contact with the occupants, nor did he have any information that a crime had occurred. However, because of his past training and experience, he realized that the individuals could have committed a crime that had yet to be reported, and it was highly probable. Corporal Rodriguez identified the occupants, photographed the exterior and partial interior of the vehicle, which later provided the Criminal Investigation Division with credible leads that led to the arrest of both occupants for the string of criminal mischiefs that occurred. During the investigation by the Criminal Investigation Division, the photographs were crucial in linking the occupants to the crime. Video surveillance from one of the homes confirmed the vehicle in Corporal Rodriguez's photos as the one that was involved. And additionally, Corporal Rodriguez's photos displayed a tool that was used in those criminal mischiefs. Lastly, the blood evidence located on one of the scenes was linked to the link to the blood that Corporal Rodriguez had also photographed. Due to his effort, along with the Criminal Investigations Division, 13 cases were solved. And that, I've got to tell you that, and it doesn't say it in the commendation, but the value on that was over $10,000. There were 15 victims, 16 vehicles damaged in 3 different neighborhoods. Corporal Rodriguez's efforts went above and beyond and is hereby awarded a commendation citation on behalf of his devotion to duty. And the last one I want to recognize is a unit award. And this is the first time the Socorro Police Department is doing a unit award, but I think it's appropriate, or I thought it was appropriate because of the turnaround that I've seen in this unit. And they've done some major things recently, but 2 of them stick out. From October 2019 to February 2020, the Socorro Police Department investigated 10 cases involving gun violence and 7 cases of thefts of firearms in the city of Socorro. Unfortunately, out of these incidents, there were 2 individuals who were seriously injured, and there was 1 murder that occurred. These events occurred in the streets and communities where many of us citizens could have become an unattended victim. The Socorro Police Department's Criminal Investigation Division thoroughly investigated these cases and made 10 arrests. Their work consisted of gathering intelligence, writing search warrants, social media accounts, cell phones, interviewing witnesses and suspects, obtaining physical evidence, reviewing surveillance video, preparing and obtaining arrest warrants, and coordinating with the district attorney's office and other law enforcement agencies conducting surveillance operations and arrest operations, as well as preparing and finalizing case documents for judicial proceedings. Their countless hours and dedication to serving the community assisted in disrupting and dismantling the organized criminal activity that the city of Socorro witnessed during these critical months of gun violence. Socorro Criminal Investigation Division arrested individuals for the following types of charges: burglary of habitation, engaging in organized criminal activity, engaging in criminal activity with aggravated robbery, deadly conduct and discharge of firearms, terroristic threats causing imminent serious bodily injury, and murder by assisting the major crimes unit with the El Paso Sheriff's Department. So that was the first incident that I thought they did a great job on. The second one is related to Corporal Rodriguez's heads up investigation. Again, on Monday, July 20th, 2020, the Criminal Investigations Division was advised by patrol that the officers had been dispatched to a string of criminal mischiefs that occurred throughout the city of Socorro. 16 vehicles from 3 different neighborhoods had been vandalized. A total of 13 police cases were reported with 15 victims. And again, the money value on that was over $10,000. Shortly after Corporal Rodriguez notified CID that during the early hours of said date, he had observed some suspicious activity, the corporal observed the black Charger, as we discussed before, with the blood and the bat that was present. But then it was given to CID to follow up. And CID followed up with the information provided. They went to each crime scene, located witnesses, obtained statements, photographed the scenes, collected blood evidence, and they were able to obtain video surveillance that showed the vehicle and passengers committing the crimes. They located the baseball bat used in the commission of the crime. They obtained and executed search warrants for the vehicle used during the crime. They successfully obtained a confession from the driver of the vehicle, and the knife used to damage the vehicle, in this case, was located by the detectives after investigation of the case. 2 individuals were charged with multiple counts of criminal mischief, and cases being presented to the district attorney office for prosecution. The above mentioned cases and criminal activity investigated by the Socorro Police Department's Criminal Investigation Division demonstrate a high degree of teamwork and professionalism, which resulted in the attainment of department goals. Many cases were solved, as well as arrests made that contributed to the decline of criminal activity involving firearms. Therefore, the CID section is awarded a unit citation, which is a blue and yellow bar that they will wear on their uniforms. And those officers present in the CID unit are Sergeant Lee Rosario, Detective Elias Valera, Detective Jose Freire, Detective Herschel Wagner, Officer Miguel Rojo, and Officer Alejandro Carmona. And let me just add my own personal thoughts on this. With all of these officers and this unit, that is the change that we are looking for, that I'm looking for in the Socorro Police Department. And I couldn't be more proud of them. They're doing a great job out there. And I'll leave it up to council if they want to make any comments.
Mayor, for the record, Mr. Perez joined the meeting at 6:18.
Mr. Rodriguez?
This goes and it proves my point. We've been working hard, council, to try to put the right people in place. It starts from the head of the department, which is chief, and it trickles down. So this is something that we're proud of. Our police officers are doing a tremendous job. This is something that needs to be brought up to light because we need our residents to know all the good things that they're doing. Like I said, we're proud of each and every single one of them. I know that they put their lives on the line every time they put that uniform and step out in the street, and that's something that is comforting, that people should know that the streets are safer because of them. I just want to say thank you and keep, doing a good job, and God be with us all.
Mr. Duran?
I know pretty much all of the officers you mentioned. I've seen them since they were rookies. I've seen them progress. I've seen them, they've come to me with problems that they've had. And I've seen them blossom. That's the only word I can use. They have become a department that our city can be proud of. They've become a department that is well worth anything that we do for them, which I wish we could do more, but we can't. And it all they are good. They are only as good as their leader. From the chief all the way down. We've had the officers that wanted to quit, but now they're way up there. They stuck with it. And this we can be proud of. When we drive down the street and you see a police officer, we don't have to be afraid. We can be proud when we see those cars, because we know that they're there to protect us, not to do what we see so much on TV, which is sickening. Knowing our officers are there for us, it just makes me proud, and everybody in Socorro should be proud of them too.
Ms. Villalobos?
I'm with my partners here in council that Socorro PD has come a long way, and it shows. And it starts at the top. Chief, thank you. You came in strong, and you continue to be strong, and your pupils or your police officers feed off that, and they're doing a fabulous job, a wonderful job. But also, as a constituent, as a citizen of Socorro, I absolutely feel safer with our police officers. Going that extra mile and taking this seriously, that we needed the change, and they were up to the challenge. Thank you to all. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart as a citizen.
I'm just gonna go ahead and call out item number 6 and number 7, even though we've already kind of started discussing them, and then if anybody has any comments, we can continue. Item number 6, commendation citation for Corporal Israel Rodriguez. And item number 7, unit citation for Criminal Investigations Division. Thank you, Chief, for the job that you're doing, and thank you to our officers for taking that uniform seriously and taking their role, not only as police officers, but as a part of this community, for all their assistance in bettering the city.
Thank you, Mayor.
Does anybody else have any comments? Moving on to consent agenda, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes. Item number 14, public hearing of an ordinance of the city of Socorro calling for an election to be held in the city of Socorro, Texas on Tuesday, the 3rd day of November 2020, for the purpose of an election for approval or rejection of 28 propositions regarding amendments to the city charter of the city of Socorro, Texas, election for mayor, city representative at large, and District 4 city representative, designated locations of polling places, ordering notice of the election to be given as prescribed by law, providing for the publication and posting of said notice, providing for early voting dates and times, making provisions for the conduct of the elections and resolving other matters incident to holding of such election, providing a statement of fiscal impact, providing compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, providing for a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Make a motion to.
It's a public hearing.
Oh, that's right.
6:34, public hearing is now open.
Mayor, we do have a speaker for this item, Miriam Cruz.
Has my time started?
Ms. Cruz?
Go ahead, Ms. Cruz.
Yes?
Ye-
Thank you. I had 2 comments on this item. Oh, actually, I have a lot more, but I'm probably not going to get them done in a minute and a half. The proposition number 10, I had a question. I know a lot of the language is the same as the previous charter, but I couldn't find anywhere that moral turpitude is defined. And I was wondering if the definitions were going to be included, because I can't seem to find them in the charter. I don't find them in the new propositions. I'm not sure how that's being addressed. And then to just actually defining moral turpitude, since that is a very, open-ended phrase. There's no clear definition of what kinds of crimes that would be. And the second thing I want to mention is that Exhibit A of this ordinance, the attachment for the early voting has the dates from October 19th. I believe it was last week that Governor Abbott already extended that to start the week before. So I was hoping maybe you guys would consider going ahead and making that amendment now, seeing as that change has been in place, so there's no confusion. I know that it states that it can be amended as needed, but that amendment or that change has already been done and has been available to the public for a while. So I would hope that you guys make that clear so that people can start getting the word out that it is going to be about 3 weeks of early voting and not just 2. That's about my time, so thanks.
Jim, if I'm correct, there's no time limit on the public hearing?
You mean for the duration of the entire hearing or for each speaker?
for each speaker?
There's no, the public speaker requirements there is no limit, but there is the regular limit for any citizen to speak on any other item.
Okay. That was their only speaker, Ms. Navarro?
Yes, yes, Mayor.
Six 37, public hearing is now closed. Item number 15, second reading and adoption of an ordinance of the city of Socorro calling for an election to be held in the city of Socorro, Texas on Tuesday, the 3rd day of November 2020 for the purpose of an election for approval or rejection of 28 propositions regarding amendments to the city charter of the city of Socorro, Texas. Election for mayor, city representative at large, and District 4 city representative. Designating locations of polling places, ordering notice of the election to be given as prescribed by law, providing for the publication and posting of said notice, providing for early voting dates and times, making provisions for the conduct of the elections and resolving other matters incident to holding of such election, providing a statement of fiscal impact, providing compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, providing for a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Mayor.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and Council, one of the things that I wanted to apprise Council of is Ms. Cruz is correct. The governor has extended the period for early voting. He did that after we submitted the initial ordinance. My recommendation is to adopt a floor amendment, change the beginning of early voting so that it's 1 week earlier, so that it starts not on October 19, but on October 12. And then thereafter, the days of the week and hours of each day when early voting can be done would be the same.
And that's what I was gonna ask you, Jim.
So does the motion need to be amended?
I would specify that change if the council is willing to adopt it.
I'll go ahead and amend my motion at this time to adopt the ordinance with the changes in the early voting process and dates as designated by Governor Abbott.
Second.
Mayor, we have a speaker on this item, Miriam Cruz.
Thank you, Ms. Navarro. I guess you guys should know, just so that it's clear, early voting actually starts Tuesday, October 13th, not the 12th, which is Monday. It's from the 13th to the 30th, a Friday. And the other thing I wanted to mention about the propositions, I mean, I'm just going to reiterate my last comment that I did at the last meeting, which was I would urge council that if you're not going to include what the propositions are being changed from in the actual actual ballot, then that maybe that information be provided side by side in some sort of digital online distribution, so that the citizens, when they want to get informed, they're not having to read a PDF that's not searchable with the charter that you guys have online, trying to find all of these sections and then trying to highlight for themselves the differences. And so if that information is already being provided to you guys, if that information is already out there, my suggestion as a constituent for other people in the public that might be interested in looking at that before they go vote, because some people do their homework before they go vote, would be to provide that information online. I think that would be very helpful for citizens to make a educated decision, informed decision on these propositions.
Ms. Cruz, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rene Rodriguez.
Just a quick note. Administratively, Jim, administratively, that concern it does have some merit, you know. Could we just administratively put it on the website and say, hey, this is our charter, but these are the changes? Or would that have to be brought up to council and another agenda item?
No, the administration can do that. I mean, we're limited by Texas law on what we can place on the ballot. And
Yes, I know. And that's what I mean.
It's not very, I get that it's not very user-friendly, but there is a body of law that describes how you have to characterize each change. And what you don't do is you don't just simply have like a red line version, like a strike through and underline version, right? Which in this day and age, I think everyone would expect, but the election code hasn't caught up to Word yet. So my point is, yes, you can, your administration can place a red line version on the website or elsewhere.
Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, thank you, Jim. Aye.
Cesar.
Ms. Villalobos?
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I second that idea. Thank you, Ms. Cruz, for being diligent with it, and I agree with it. It should be side by side, and people should have access to it somewhere. So, and I think the best choice right now with short notice would be our website. Thank you.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran.
Yes.
Victor Perez.
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 16, discussion and action to approve and adopt minor updates to the City of Socorro's Chapter 380 Economic Development Policy.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Alejandra Valadez, Grants Coordinator for the City of Socorro. The item before you is a discussion and action to approve and adopt minor updates to the City of Socorro's Chapter 380 Economic Development Policy. In discussing this policy with our legal team, some minor changes were proposed. The proposed changes include the move of military, defense, and homeland security from the secondary target industry section to the primary target industry section. The second change is a slight change in the language for the grant amounts from just stating 25% grant or 50% grant to state up to 25% grant and up to 50% grant, just to make the language a little bit clearer. And then the removal of automotive retail from the primary target industry section on page 6. Now, although broader changes might be necessary to our Chapter 380 policy, at this point, this item is only to address these minor changes. And I'm not sure if you have any questions.
Rene Rodriguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran.
Yes.
Victor Perez.
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes?
can I move item 22 up next? I'll make a motion to move item 22. The reason being is because I'm using the hotspot on the phone and I'm down to like 18%. My internet from the house went out. They're not gonna be here till tomorrow to fix it. So I just in case I get cut off, just letting you guys know.
Second.
Thank you.
Rene Rodriguez.
Aye.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Ralph Duran.
Yes.
Victor Perez.
What item again, please?
To move up
22.
item number 22.
22?
Correct.
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 22, discussion and action to reduce tax rate.
This item is just, I just want to see if we can just I know we already agreed that we're gonna do the tax rate last time, but I just wanted to see if we could just reduce it by 1 penny. I know, it's just to see. All I want to do is just take this action so that our staff can bring us something and see if it's doable or not. That's all I want to do. Try to alleviate the burden. I know that this coronavirus has hit everybody hard. You know, I just want to see if we can help our residents, if we can. So this is just this item, just to let our staff just bring us a recommendation if it's able to or not. That's all it is.
Mr. Perez?
Uh, but are there any timelines that need to be considered for, if we do this?
Oh, just next week. All you have to do is just plug in the numbers from what we have right now. Just change the amount. That's all about it. And then just bring it to us and say, hey, you know, this is the difference. That's all.
Mayor, may I?
Mr. Martinez?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and Council, one thing I simply wanted to apprise Council of, that I don't want to interfere with a policy decision, but I feel like I need to at least make Council aware. I realize this is a proposal to reduce the tax rate, but it's obviously, it has the potential to affect the tax rate, or at least the proposed tax rate. One thing that is a hot issue right now in municipal law is the disaster declaration by the governor. The SB2, the new budget requirements and the new tax rate requirements that are in effect this year limit the amount of any tax increase to 3.5% of revenue. And there's a sleeper provision in there that at the time it was adopted, nobody really paid any attention to. And it applies when there is a disaster declaration, and it changes the 3.5% to 8%. That's just what the statute says. It's buried in there. And so the governor has declared a state of disaster statewide. As of March 13, he has renewed those declarations periodically such that they are still in effect. So I just simply wanted the council to be aware that changes your voter approval rate. Your voter approval rate then is not the 3.5% increase, which I think is what we had circulated to council before. In light of the disaster declaration, it's actually 8%. Just FYI, I wanted council to know that. Maybe more importantly, if you adopt, to trigger that, to use that higher rate, you have to pass a resolution. You have to adopt a resolution saying we're doing that. And then that higher rate remains in effect for 2 or 3 years, depending on the specifics of future tax rates and future tax rolls, how the valuations come in. So up to 3 years, it could have an effect. I simply wanted council to do that. The opposite of that is if you don't adopt that, if you don't use that this year, and the declaration goes away by, say, this year or sometime next year, before the budget cycle, you will not again be able to use the 8%. You'll still be capped at 3.5%.
Mr. Duran?
Jim, a quick question, with regards to if we do not raise taxes this year. I believe there's like a tax bank that if we don't use the tax, our 3% tax increase this year, doesn't that roll over and then in future years we can use that or not?
You're talking about if your tax rate this year is a no new revenue rate?
Yeah.
And I simply don't remember, was it council's direction the last time we discussed this to direct the staff to use the no new revenue rate? Charlie, do you know?
I don't think it was. I think we were looking at staying at the same rate. That was our recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be an increase in revenue.
It would be an increase in revenue, yes.
Okay.
That's the second part is, if we go with the 1 penny less, that's going to be $112,000 less coming in to the city. We're already trying to, with our wish list, go into our reserves. This will add another $112,000 that we're gonna have to dig out of the reserves because we're not gonna be getting that money in. I mean, I'm all for lowering taxes, but we have to do it responsibly. I think our budget has to be balanced first, and then we're gonna have to go back and look at where we can cut, where there's some fat that we can cut out to get to that $112,000 and the wish list. So, hey, if somebody wants to go with it, I get my red pen and I will gladly meet with our finance director and let's look at the budget and see where we can cut some corners and we can save our constituents that money. I don't know if anybody is open to that, but I am.
Ms. Villalobos?
I'm also for reducing taxes, but also we're short-staffed in our police department. We have this new building in our police department. They are still needing safety equipment in our police department. That's just one department that is lacking a lot of lacking important items. And if we start cutting now, how is that going to affect our police department when we're already short-staffed? We should be increasing our police department, and I don't see how we can do that by cutting taxes. That's just one of my that comes to mind right now that would be affected. I'm sorry.
Mr. Casiano, do you know if we were to reduce the taxes, what would be the savings for the average household?
I don't have that particularly. It's not a lot, to be honest with you. If we look at like the $100,000 value, our portion of the taxes would only be about $30 of savings. If you compare the voter approval rate at 3.5% compared to what I want to use, which is the current tax rate, it'd only be about $30 on a $100,000 house. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look at the new schedule. It is significantly different than the last time we looked at it. Late last week, we received the breakdown from the city.
I'm sorry, Mayor, but that's item number 19. I don't know if you want to discuss it now or move the item up so Mr. Casiano can, since we're on that topic, if we can move it up.
Look, I already did the,
Mr. Rodriguez?
all I'm saying is just take a look at it. That's all we're doing. We're not saying let's do it. I'm saying let's administratively take a look at it and see if we can. That's all I said. I'm not saying we're going to do it. I said, let's try to see if we can help our residents. That's all it is. He doesn't have those numbers because he's not working with those numbers. So we can ask Mr. Casiano, hey, what's this? He's going to just try to work out some magical numbers right now, but he's not really going to have concrete numbers. That's why I said, let's just see, bring it to us and see how it looks. And then we'll just take a vote on it. And that's, if we're going to make a change, we'll make a change then. If not, then we don't. That's all I'm asking.
I think first of all, I don't think there's really a motion on the floor right now, but to that end, if we're going to have a comparison, I'd like to also see the comparison of the reduction in the tax rate, but also to Jim's point of the percentage that he articulated, so that we can see what we're looking at. Because at this point, not that we're going to raise taxes or anything like that. I'm not saying that we are or that we won't. I don't want to misspeak on this issue, but I think that we need to have a complete picture as to the options that are available to the city, so that we know that what we have, and then make an informed decision, especially now, again, in light of the information that Jim shared.
Mr. Arte?
Mayor and Council, I would like to add that item number 19 will shed some light on our discussions that we have right now. I don't think that we're gonna have to come back. Pretty much the tax rate, that we're getting is a lot less than what we're putting on the table, and I think that's what Mr. Casiano wants to talk about. And I would like us to either move item number 19 up, but I think that once we go through that item, you'll have better options to go by. And we also have the public hearing scheduled for August 17th. So we would have to either decide tonight or call a special meeting for next week because our public hearing is already scheduled for the 17th of August. And our second public hearing will be on September the 3rd.
Mr. Martinez, can we move item number 19 next and then return to 22?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, you can. You don't have to dispose of 22. You can simply go on and address another item.
Motion to move up item number 19.
Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 19, discussion and action to approve the anticipated proposed tax rate for fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Mr. Charlie?
Mr. Charlie says, if we can bring up the tax rate assessed valuation worksheet, I think we could look at that. Is there any way to make it bigger? Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah. If I could direct your attention to the three columns, the first one that says fiscal year 2021, no change. That's how the tax rate breaks out if we keep it the same. Don't change it at all. Under 2021, there's two columns that are colored. One says no new revenue rate, and the other is the voter approval rate. And those two numbers came in really low for us. The voter approval rate came in at 3.5%, came in at a 0.8095, which would lower the rate significantly. Okay, so I called Maria Pacias, and she ran me through it, and she showed me how it's calculated and why it came in so low. But she also mentioned at that time that if there is a disaster declaration, that we can use 8%. Now, in doing so, she was not very hopeful that would stand. But after talking with Mr. Martinez and having read through some of the items that he showed me, that 8% actually looks doable for us. And what it does for us is bring it back to basically the rate that we're at now. It'd be 0.836995, which is just 1/10 of a percent, 1/1000th of a percent close to what we have already. Now, the reason we would want to do that, though, is kind of twofold from the standpoint that we've got some really good momentum right now. And we're really wanting to get some things done through the budget and spending some money on some critical things. And if we don't do it now, we won't be able to make those changes without having to go back to the voters in the future. Now, so my suggestion, my recommendation is that we use the 8%. Now, the caveat is it may be challenged. And so I'd like for Mr. Martinez to kind of go through what he's looked at, because I think it's very important that you guys are aware of what that 8% really means. Mr. Martinez?
Yes, sir, got it.
Okay.
Mayor and council, yes, I'm happy to, and I've discussed this with the city manager and with Mr. Casiano. And I can forward to you the statute, and let me just give you the brief analysis. It's in the tax code, let me pull it up, that says that 3% is actually changed to, 3.5% is actually changed to 8% when there is a disaster declaration. And it's that simple. I mean, the text is very simple. It says when there's a disaster declaration. And I can show you the governor's, what's called an executive order. I think he's signed 28 of them to date since the era of COVID. It literally says, I hereby declare a disaster in all counties in the state of Texas. And I mean, the analysis is not much more complicated than that. The statute says when there's a disaster, and the governor has said, I declare a disaster. That's it. So my point is, I think it seems obvious to me that using the old terms, the voter approval rate that's available to the city, that is applicable to the city right now, is not 3.5, it's 8. And Mr. Casiano was right, it might still be challenged, okay? As you might imagine, that is not popular in some sectors of the state. The governor has personally said that that's the wrong interpretation. The Attorney General has come out against that and said, urge counties and municipalities, other governmental entities not to do that. And I don't mean to have I don't have a policy position on this, and I don't mean to be pejorative, but what I would say about those statements, whoever is describing that interpretation is incorrect, I think is just wrong. I think they're making a judgment based on policy considerations, which is valid, and elected officials have the right to do that, but it's not the correct legal interpretation. Legally, it's what I said before. It's when the statute says when there's a disaster declaration, and the governor has said, I have declared a disaster, and that's it. And I think you can discern that by the TML, the Texas Municipal League, has come out with guidance for all of its members and said publicly, this is what we think the law is. This is what we think it means. It's 8% because there's a disaster declaration. So just FYI, that's what's at play. The only other thing maybe to think of is some people have said, some of the people who oppose that have said, well, that's not what's intended by disaster declaration. If you read the definition, which is in a different code, a different part of the law altogether, here's what a disaster declaration is supposed to include, or it can happen, it's possible in these situations for these kind of events. Okay, I've read that definition. It is an extremely broad definition that I certainly think encompasses COVID. But we could at least have a discussion about that. And my point with that is, however that discussion comes out, all that influences is whether the governor should or should not have declared a disaster in light of this pandemic. But once he's done it, having elected to do it, then there's nothing more to debate. I mean, he has declared it, and the statute says the increase in the voter approval rate is triggered when there's a declaration. So it doesn't really help us. And I'm happy to answer your questions.
Mr. Perez?
So does that mean that, and whether it's perception or not, that we're going, if we were to do this, we would be raising taxes during a pandemic? Even I know, I understand that the governor has just declared a state of emergency and whatnot, but that still would be the perception that we're upping taxes during a pandemic.
I defer to others about public perception. What I can tell you is, I mean, don't forget the way the tax code and the government code is structured. It's always a tax increase. Anything more than the no new revenue rate is, in the language of the code, a tax increase.
Mr. Casiano?
Well, just to be crystal clear, it's the rate would actually go down even if we went with the 8%. Now, the revenue total would go up because we have more value that's being taxed. So that's what's in play here.
Right, and Mr. Castellano is right, that happens when you have a rapidly growing entity where the value of the tax rolls is increasing significantly year to year.
Mr. Perez?
So then, please humor me. What would be a good description or explanation to any layperson that is just, paying their taxes, going along, working and paying their taxes? What would be the explanation to them? What's the simplest form of that explanation?
To me, it would be that we're trying to keep the rate the same. We're not decreasing it, we're not increasing it on the rate. So if the value of your property didn't change, your taxes for the city of Socorro should not change.
And I think Mr. Castellano is right. I mean, and again, I don't mean to be critical, but if you have experience with the tax code in Texas and the government code, it's kind of structured kind of weird. It is literally structured so that if you have any meaningful growth at all, and you keep the same tax rate, the exact same rate, the numerical rate, say for 20 years straight, you keep the exact same rate. Well, in the eyes of the tax code, you passed 20 straight tax increases. That's what it says.
Mr. Perez?
Okay. But that still doesn't negate what we tell the public. I mean, it's still, I hear, okay, I hear 8%, and I hear, I visualize an increase. That's one. Two, do other tax entities have that ability to operate or do, I guess, make changes given the COVID disaster decree?
Yes, they do. The laws I've described apply statewide to certainly all counties and municipal governments. To answer your earlier question, Mr. Perez, you hear 8% and you hear tax increase, and the tax code calls it a tax increase, and that's probably true in the aggregate. But what Mr. Castellano said is I think important. The rate actually goes down, and so what I hear in those situations, because I've represented other governmental entities and I've worked in city administration, is the explanation I hear most commonly to individual taxpayers is, well, yeah, but not for you. Yeah, the city overall got more revenue because it has more people and more property, but the taxes you pay on your house this year are less than they were last year.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Look, I don't know if you guys remember when all this, the SB 22 or SB 2 that was at the legislature, when it was passed, when it was going to be passed, people tend to forget that David Scout was arguing, the Commissioner Scout was arguing with, at that time, Cesar Blanco, the state rep. Now he's going to try to replace Senator Rodriguez. And the whole issue is that this is going to hinder us for future. So what you guys need to understand is, it's going to put a damper on us because we are looking at a lot of growth. The reason why I'm saying this is because, look, we're all hurting, period. We're all hurting. Even personally, my business suffered because of coronavirus, okay? So I understand, and and I'm pretty good, okay? I mean, I'm not saying that, that I have $1 in my bank, no, but I did drop 75% of my revenue. So it's a lot. And I have my business to maintain. What about the people that don't have jobs? What about the people that can't pay? So when we want to do this, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow, but I'm not doing it for that. All I can say is this, is todos rabones o todos coludos. If our people are hurting, why can't we just hurt with them as well? I told Scout in his commissioner's court, when I was fighting for our $2 million worth of COVID relief, I told him, hey, if you want to be a philanthropist, and I know, a lot of people like being philanthropists. I'm one of them too, but I do what I do with my money, but we're talking about other people's money. We got that opportunity to look for what's best for our residents. All I'm saying is we could have just reduced it by 1 cent. That's all I'm saying. Help. They need help. I don't care if it's even $5. Really. The price of everything is high. Look at McDonald's. You can't buy 99-cent stuff anymore. And then if you do, look at how small the fries are. Look at how small everything is. Really. Everybody's cutting and trying to make more. That's all I was trying to say is, that's all my agenda item was trying to do is, let's just take a look at it really in depth. That's it. I don't know what we're going to say to the taxpayers, but that's for us. I don't think Jim has every, sometimes he doesn't have the answers we want to hear. Doesn't make it it's bad advice. It's just, it's something that we're going to have to, and we alone have to tell our constituents what's really going to go. But all I say is, could we do it? Yeah, we probably could. Would we want to do it? I don't know. All I'm saying is we could just take a look at it and see.
Well, and I think that the problem is that even if we were to keep the same tax rate, since the value of the homes keep going up, in essence, the taxes are going up, even if we keep the same tax rate.
Yeah, look at what we did. Mayor?
Rodriguez?
Mayor, look, think about what we just did. Think about all the growth we're doing. We took out 1.5 million square feet of residential rooftop. We replaced it with 3.4 million square feet of commercial rooftop. That is over 1 million, actually 2 million more. That's a potential big growth. Are we going to make up that penny? Yes, we are. Those are the things that I say. I look in the long run, look at what we're doing in the city, look at how big we're growing. I know we need services. I know we need police department. I know, we need all this stuff, but you know what? We will find a way, like we have been finding a way. The growth is here. The growth is coming. It'll all take care of itself. Can we do it? Yeah, I can. Is it wise? People have ideas. No, people may have say yes. I just say, look at the growth we're going to look at every year from now on. Look at what we're doing. We're going to have Tigua Boulevard, coming up. That area is potential growth. Look at all the subdivisions that are almost being completed. We have 4 subdivisions right now. So the potential is there. If we're able to give just to look at it, just to look at a 1 cent, it's really not going to kill us. Could we make it up in the long run? Yes. That's all I'm saying.
We work for the taxpayers. That's who put us in office. That's who we have to basically show what, we have to take care of their money. It's not our money. It's their tax money. When we look at 8% tax rate increase, a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people have, they're on unemployment and they just lost a $600 a week assistance. and we're gonna raise taxes on them. I don't think that that's very smart thing to do right now. And we need to look at our budget. We need to live within, just like our constituents, live within our budget. Here we're picking up $1,568,000 and $700,000 or $700 that we're going to take out of our reserves. That's their money, not ours. We're not living within our budget as they have to do. I think we need to look at no change. We need to look at the no new revenue. We need to look at the voter approval rate and find out what is best for our constituents. How is it going to help keep the city running? I know we have police officers that we're lacking. So where do we get the money? Do we keep attacking the reserve fund? I know that we're within what we should have by state regulations, but several years ago, we had $10 million in reserves. We have been little by little taking it all away. And what's going to happen when we have a disaster that we need to use that money? We're not going to have it. We need to look at all of this before we decide on a tax rate. You know, I mean, dropping the tax rate a penny. Well, let's show them where we're going to make that up. Not tell them it's going to happen in the future, because that's what we've been telling them forever. Oh, we're gonna raise your taxes, but you're gonna get this and this and this, but they don't see it. And these are the people we have to answer to. I mean, all of us here, we have a basic idea of what we need to do, but we also have to remember who we work for. We work for the taxpayer. And when we tell them we're gonna put an 8% tax increase because we can, I don't see that. I would like us to live within our budget and provide the services that they need and find a way to do it. That's what we have to do. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez?
You know, yeah, there was a time where I heard all that it was $10 million in the reserves. Yes, that was before even my time. And they decided to take $5 million of that and build this park. That's what they did with $5 million out of those $10 million of reserves. Okay? That was poor planning. Okay? What we have done since then, new council moving forward, is we have been administratively tackling everything we can as possible. I know and I understand that we want to do all these projects, but these aren't, luxury projects. We're not building a castle in a park. We're not building anything like that. We're building infrastructure, roads, improvements, widening of streets, sidewalks, stuff like that. That's where their money's gone. We've done more than 100 overlays since 2013 till up to date. Actually 136 or so, more or less, give and take, 3% off. We've widened a lot of streets. So I know, and we know what we need to do because we've done it and we've continued to do the right thing. Have we stopped going into the reserves? No, we're way beyond healthy on our reserves. But can we just tap in an extra $118,000 into reserves? Yeah. Is that going to kill us? No. Why? Because I see the growth and the potential that this city, this great city of Socorro, is going through right now. We're having a big boom that is going to help us. And eventually, when it's all said and done, the tax rate will be lowered because of all of the growth. All I'm saying is we should just take a look at it. That's why my agenda item is there, just to lower it 1 cent and see how it looks. That's all. And I'm done.
Mr. Casiano?
Is there any way we can look at the general fund revenues, page on the fiscal year 2021 budget worksheet. If you can bring it up. It'll be the first tab on the worksheet.
Scroll down.
No, it should be on the Excel, or it would be the first page of the actual like budget pages.
Do you have that? Mr. Casano, we don't have the budget attached. I don't know if you have it up and you can share your screen.
Oh, I have it on the computer, so.
Do you
But
wanna-
let me just shout it out to you just real quick, is that if we use the 3.5%, it will give us a rate of 0.809577. And that would require us to use 1,091,000 of the reserves. The reserves are at about 3.5 million that we could tap into. And the last few budgets, we've gone into the reserves in our budgeting process, but in actuality, we don't even come close to tapping into the amount that we budgeted for. And so we have been fiscally responsible in that regard. You know, there's always the possibility that we could be a little more, diligent and cut some of the fat out of the budget if need be. The bottom line though is what I'm saying to you is whatever rate you come up with, we can survive it. We can deal with it for the next fiscal year. So, you know, it's just your political will. If you want to do the 3.5% and just keep it at the 0.089577, we can do that. Or we could come back next week with some more numbers, try to digest what we've been given, because, even for Jim and I, this is new. We just kind of got the information last week and we're still chewing on it. So I think it would be a good idea to chew on it and then come back and make a decision based on that.
Mr. Perez?
So then I go back to my point. I'd like to see the breakdowns on the different amounts that have been proposed today, so that we can see to have I need to see it. I'm a visual person sometimes, and this is one of the times that I'm a visual person. I need to see it in writing so I can see make the comparisons. And so I think that even at that, irrespective of Mr. Rodriguez is asking to see about the 1 cent reduction, we still need to see the amounts and how they would be affected with the rate that Mr. Castellano is talking about.
Mr. Castellano, just to clarify, the rate that Mr. Rodriguez came back with was using what we thought was a approval rate before the voter approval rate came back, which is lower than on his item, correct?
That's correct.
Mayor, may I?
Mr. Arthur?
Yes, and I just wanted to chime in because I think the numbers are right in front of us. We're just maybe receiving a lot of different information. But if you look, if we go with the voters approval rate, which is, we're going down 3 cents, 0.80957, meaning our budget would start with $8.7 million, right? That's with what the state is telling you, that's your voter approval rate. If we do the no new revenue rate, meaning we stay the same, it would be the the no new revenue rate is a little bit less than what we're making right now. So you would have a budget starting with $8.9 million. With no changes, we were at $9 million. So if you go with the voter approval rate, you're actually lowering it 3 cents.
2.79.
Cents.
Yes.
Yes. So those are the numbers and the impact that you'll have on your budget. I understand that the reason it's affecting us and going down to 80 cents, it's because of the growth that we're experiencing. But understand with growth, demand increases. In the last couple of budgets, we've allocated funding for the Varela Street of $1.5 million. We continue telling our taxpayers we don't have funding for this and we don't have funding for that. By us cutting our revenue, we're just limiting our, because with new subdivisions, we're gonna have to go in there and maintain. We only have 23 employees in the Public Works Department cleaning our, you know, the city, and the city is growing tremendously. I get calls daily of people complaining that we just can't keep up with the demand. I know that those are headaches that you all have, but I do understand. I'm just from a personnel perspective, especially me, Chief, have talked. We're trying to increase the 6 officers this fiscal year. We did receive a grant for 6 more officers. So we have to see ourselves in the next 2 to 3 years. Can we sustain those 6 more officers that we're getting through a grant? Yes, right now we're receiving funds for it, but are we going to end up laying off those 12 officers that we're bringing on because we're limiting ourselves right now? If you do go with the 8% that Jim said, I know that in paper it looks 8, but it's really not increasing, it's actually decreasing. It's still decreasing from last year. It's just in paper, it reads differently because you're saying you have to increase the 8% to maintain yourself at the same level that you are because of the growth that we've experienced. And I mean, this is just an explanation. I felt that you might want to hear this explanation, but we can bring back numbers next week. Do any of you have questions?
Ms. Rodriguez?
Look, we were in the impression that we were doing 8.5%. Now we're gonna do 8. But my question, nevertheless, is we already have these numbers. All I want is to be presented with a 1 cent decrease from the 8%. Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Correct.
That's why my item was there.
And I think that number is on your agenda item. Hold on, let me pull that up. Because we provided a worksheet based on the information you had requested, I think back in June or July, and it gives you that 1% difference.
Yes, it does. I don't know if Mr.
I just
Mr.
can't-
Perez
do you have
sees
it?
that. That's all I wanted to know. That's all I wanted to see is what does the difference look like? And it's only 100 and something, but
So-
if it's with that additional 0.5%, you know, it changes it.
So I think the 1% would be the $9.2 million. If you see
what?
$9.2 million, and I'm just talking about the general budget. What do we collect throughout the year? If we do the 1% less, it'll come in at 9.2.
Well, and that 9.2 includes the debt service. So we just need to be careful with that.
Right. I know. And the only thing this rate is gonna affect us in the future is the M&O side, but not the INS side. You know, that's the thing that they were saying. So it wouldn't hinder us from going out, and that's the tricky part is they took the ability for us to keep their tax rate high, but then they left us with the ability to go out and acquire more debt. But then if we don't have, and that's what I was trying to figure out, is that if our M&O, with the revenues that we come in are going to be hindered, then we're not going to be able to, on the INS side, be able to go out and borrow money. So those are the things that we have to look at and actually address. And I get it and I understand, but all I'm saying is we just need to look at it and see, look, we understand that we are going out and we're getting grants for our police officers. We know that because they come into council, because that's what our grants writer has been doing. And we're adding more and we're adding more, and that's great. And I know that at the end of the rainbow, the piper is gonna want its money. So I know with the potential growth that the city is facing, we will recover. You know, whether you know, I understand how staff feels because staff doesn't want to because they want the sure thing. Okay? Because everybody is like that. They're afraid of the unknown. I'm not saying our staff is afraid. All I'm saying is that everybody has that thing where about the unknown. But if you see the growth is coming. And what does growth say? Growth is we're going to be able to make a little bit more money. And therefore, that's the only reason why I put it on the agenda. And remember when we approved the tax rate and I spoke up 2 weeks or 3 weeks or two agenda items was I wanted to know because I wanted to have that presented to council and say, hey, instead of going to the 8.5%, now 8, I wanted to see if we can look at the difference between the 8 and the 1 cent to give back to our residents. That's all. I get it. I understand. That's all I'm saying to council. Let's just take a look at it and just make a decision, and that's it. That is it. You know, I know where our staff stand. I know where Mr. Casiano because he works the numbers. He understands. And he understands it because that's all he does. So if we take and we make the decision, you know, then our staff has to do it. It's just that simple. But we don't want to be in that position to say, hey, this is what we want to do just because we want to do it. You know, we have to be smart about it. That's all I'm trying to tell council is, can we just take a look at it and then we'll just come back next and then say, hey, yes or no, and that's it. And we just keep it at the way we're going to keep it. And that's it. I'm not trying to force anything down anybody's throat. All I'm saying is take a look at it. What do you guys think? And if yes, then we just go off a half a cent, and that's it. If no, then it's no.
Yeah, that's pretty clear. Let's do that and move on, please.
Okay,
Yes.
just for clarification, Jim, I don't know, and Mr. Charlie, if we do 1% less of the tax rate, that would still be an increase, correct? Because right now the no revenue rate is at 80 cents.
Right.
But if he only wants to go 1 penny down, it'll still be an increase of 7-something%.
I think that's right, but I went to law school because there was no math involved there, so I defer to Mr. Casiano.
Well, I'm not sure where he's starting from.
Mr. Perez?
If we're starting from what our current rate is, I'm sorry. If we're
No,
starting
go
from
ahead.
what our current rate is, a 1% decrease would be 8.27502, which would be greater than the voter approval rate based on 3.5%. The situation though is that what we're reading and what we're getting back now is that it could be up to 8%. If that's not what you want to do, that's fine.
Correct.
But we need to decide if we're going to use the 8.275, which is very workable. We can deal with that. We can do that. Then we still will probably have to consider whether or not we consider the 3.5% or the 8%, the voter approval rate, whether or not it needs to go to the voters or if we can just go with it.
So if you go with the voter approval rate right now, that would be 80 cents. So you would be decreasing it 3
Yeah, if we
cents.
looked at 8%, it's 8.369%. At the 8%.
Correct, but if you go with the voter approval rate, wouldn't it be 0.809577?
At 3.5%.
Correct. So
At
you
8%,
can do
it's
that.
8.36995.
You could do that and actually say that but you're still in your text, in the wording, it'll still be a 3.5% increase in taxes. but the actual revenue that you're receiving is a lot less. They're gonna see the impact in their tax when they receive their taxes, because it's now you're, instead of paying 8.3 cents, you're paying 8.80 cents. But in your tax, in the way you're going to word it, you're still increasing at 3.5%. So it's important for you all to understand, because I know you're going to get the calls from the voters, but it's still an increase. Even if we go the 1%, the 1 cent less than last year, it'll go, I mean, it's like Mr. Charlie said, it's 0.82% that you're increasing. So you're still going to have to explain to your voters that you're increasing taxes when you're really not, because of the growth that we're experiencing.
Mr. Perez?
I would just one final comment. So then at this point, what we tell our constituents is that our growth is such that we have developed an economy of scale, that the increase actually is not, it doesn't impact the amount of tax that's paid, because again, we have that economy of scale at this point.
Correct. So
right?
if you go even with not taking it to the voters, you're still decreasing it, maybe very minute, but you're still decreasing taxes. However, in the verbiage and the hearings that we're placing, you will see that okay, they're increasing, but you're really not increasing. It's just because of the growth that you're seeing.
So what do we do now?
So, and that's why I need clarification. If you want me to come back next week, do you want me to come back less than the voter approval rate, which you want to go lower than 80 cents? Is my question.
No, we start at 8, like what Jim said.
So then
And
we
then
stay,
go a penny down from there. And just look at that. That's all.
okay. So we can do that, and I'll call a special meeting for next week, next Thursday.
I mean, that's for my agenda item. That's just for my agenda item. For this one,
Well,
we can go with Jim's recommendation. What he said is that because of the declaration, and then on my agenda item, Jim, can I say that because we're tackling both at the same time?
You're muted, Mr. Martinez.
Jim.
Don't tell my wife I did that. She's gonna want to make it permanent. I'd be more comfortable. You're on 19, so I would say dispose of 19 and then go to 22 and take action on that.
Okay. So then we'll take Jim's, well, I'll make a motion to go to Jim's recommendation because of the declaration to go to the 8%.
We do have a speaker on this item.
Okay.
Maria, on 19? She said 19 and 20.
She's on 20.
I heard her say 19 and 20. Can you clarify?
Ms. Cruz, I just wanted to clarify. Were you also going to be speaking on item 19? Because I did not catch that.
No, I only signed up for 20. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd rather be wrong than miss her.
So
Sorry.
then, this was Mr. Perez's motion, correct?
Where I approved the.
The last
For what I've
motion
heard,
we,
Mr.
the
Superintendent.
last motion we had was made by Mr. Perez to approve.
Which
Second.
one?
Okay,
19.
But approve
19.
what?
No. Was it Jim's recommendation or Mr. Casiano's at the 3.5 or the 8%?
Mr. Perez's motion was to approve for discussion.
Yeah, so then at this point, I'll amend my motion to approve the item with the amount articulated by Mr. Martinez.
And I would say to calculate, to use as the proposed tax rate the voter approval rate, which is an 8% increase in revenue.
All right, so, so moved.
Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
You're on mute, ma'am.
Ms. Villalobos?
Ms. Villalobos, you have to unmute.
I'm sorry, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Before I vote, I just want to say that this is the last item I'll vote on tonight. I'm sorry, I have to run to the airport, but yes, thank you.
Be careful, Ms. Villalobos.
Thank you.
Item number 22, discussion and action to reduce tax rate.
I'll make a motion to take a look at the tax rate of 1 cent lower.
Lower than the current rate or lower than the voter approval rate?
At the 8%.
I would say lower than the rate council approved in item 19.
Yes, yes. So moved.
Second.
You have a speaker, right? No?
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
So we could have said a half hour ago. Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 17, discussion and action on the proposed conditional use permit for a mechanic shop at Lee Clark Survey, 293, apps 6527, tract 181, located at 1113 Horizon Boulevard. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I believe it's, the, planning and zoning has recommended motion to deny, denial, so, make a motion to deny.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an application they're asking for a conditional use permit to allow them to continue operating a mechanic shop. Some of the key points to know is that this mechanic shop was detected operating without a business registration by code enforcement. Several violations were found in the property. That's the reason why the Planning and Zoning Commission does not recommend that you approve this application until some of the violations are abated. I don't know if you have any questions.
No. Denial.
Mr. Terrazas, can you review the code enforcement violations?
Yeah, some of the violations they have on the property is that they're operating in a shade structure. It's not a fully enclosed building. The property is unpaved, and they have many cars that make it look like a junkyard. They're only allowed to have a maximum of 5 inoperable vehicles, but they exceed that amount. They were already told to remove all those violations, but nothing has happened up to this date. And that's just to mention a few.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 18, update on master sidewalk plan projects.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is Mike Mina. Can we pull up the exhibit, Myla, please? So what we wanted to inform the body was that we are very close now in putting out the bid package for the development of the sidewalks that was approved by council several months back. But we wanted to bring to your attention is that when we were reviewing the right-of-way for this project that you see here, which is on Middle Drain between Ormsby and Tanton, we don't have adequate right-of-way to safely install and have it operated. We had communicated to the irrigation district to see if we could shift the sidewalk along the Middle Drain easements that they have. While they were receptive, one of the things that they did comment is that in the event that they have to access the Middle Drain for whatever purpose, is that ultimately the sidewalk could be destroyed and we would have to come back and repair it. Now, in discussion with the city manager, we felt that this was probably not in the best interest of the city. And so we still want to preserve the amount or the length of the area. We'll just have to do it somewhere else within the vicinity. So if you remember when we did this analysis, the city is broken up into 12 sectors. So we are looking at everything that is in between this sector, and I believe it's sector 7. One of the other things that we wanted to make sure is that before we put the base bit, that you were certainly aware of this. So what we're going to do is put out the base bit, hopefully by next week, and I will come back before we finalize to ensure the area that we recommend is approved by council. If anybody has any questions or comments.
Basically, this is the recommendation, correct?
So it's an update, sir, because we haven't fully have gone and examined where would be the best component to put it in there. If you remember, we did a matrix of the selection. And again, is that we weren't very comfortable with some of the elements that came out of it. So we want to just re-examine it with the spirit that we're looking at the non-safe routes to school areas. But if it all goes well, then with the new special meeting that I heard about, is that I will come back with that recommendation.
Okay. That'll work. Looks good.
Moving on to item number 20, discussion and action to approve the scheduling of 2 public hearings on August 20th and September 3rd, 2020 for the anticipated proposed tax rate for fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Can we have a speaker for this item? Miriam Cruz.
Hi. So there's 2 comments that I wanted to make. The first one is that there's, I believe that these are synced up to the city council meetings, the regular meetings. And I was actually hoping that that maybe council or staff could get creative on how to elicit more input from the public, being as it's going to be on the same day and at the same time, whether it's a online campaign, a different method to submit comments, or anything else that would help the public be able to speak on this. And one of the reasons, there's 2 reasons for it. One, for all the reasons that you guys stated earlier about what's going on right now and everyone's tight budgets. And the second thing is because I've seen a lot of the public meetings that, for example, TxDOT has, and the way that they get some public feedback and input from the public, which is really creative. So I'm hoping that the city could be open to exploring some ideas to get that input from the public. Thank you.
Rene Rodríguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 21, discussion and action to review and approve El Paso County 911 District Fiscal Year 2021 Budget Plan.
Motion to approve.
We have a second?
I don't want to second it. I didn't read it.
We still need to have discussion on it, though.
I know.
Mr. Duran or Mr. Nevares, would you like to second this item? Or Mr. Perez's motion?
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. David Burton, Chief of Police. So one of the hats that I wear in the area is that I sit on the 911 board as a representative of the larger municipality outside of Paso. So Socorro is given a seat on the board as a voting member. There are 5 members on the board, including myself, an El Paso representative, El Paso Fire Police, and then Chief McConnell from Horizon Police Department. He is current chair on the board. We sit and monitor the activities of the 911 center. As you all know, anytime you call 911 in our area of El Paso County, it's going to go to that center. That center supports 13 dispatch areas and 37 response agents, from police to independent school district agencies to our own, to fire ESDs, and then to obviously our own city. If you look at the budget for this year compared to last year, you'll actually see a decrease. Last year, it was 9.55 million, and this year it's 9.415. I'm sorry, it's 9.415. The reason for the reduction is because some of the capital improvement projects that were ongoing last year have completed. The 911 district gets their from a levy that's put on landlines. They make up about 9.3 out of that of the 9.4 that they're asking for, and that comes out of that. Like I said, that comes out of the assessment that's already put on any kind of landline network, etc., that is in the county of El Paso. There is ongoing discussion right now because everybody is getting rid of their landlines or their hard lines and going to cell phones. You may see a switch over from that assessment to landline to cell phone, but it's not being done at the present time. There's just discussion going on at this point. They don't plan on raising anybody's assessment because they're going to make up the differences with financial stocks that they are going to turn in, similar to the way that we use a reserve to cover any differences. That's what the plan is for the 911 district in covering their 2021 budget. So even though they're not bringing in the total amount, they're not asking for any kind of revenue increase because they are going to make up that difference. And they have to, this is a requirement that the 911 center goes around and presents this budget to all of the municipalities that they represent. And I'll take any questions.
Mr. Rodriguez?
So Chief, real quick question. Like I said, I didn't go through it. I didn't have time. But if you feel that it's good,
so, I mean, the entire board feels it's good. We had some discussion on it. There were 5 voting members. Nobody voted against it or abstained. It's nice actually to see the reduction. like I said, that goes from 9.5 to 9.4. So they did show us a reduction in cost savings for the upcoming budget, even though costs are increasing this year or next year. They're still managing to reduce their budget.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Rene Rodriguez,
I'm gonna go with our chief recommendation. So aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez, Mr. Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 23, discussion and action to direct staff to add Ormsby to the capital improvement program and provide council with the construction cost of said project.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Rodriguez?
This is all it is, you know what, let's just look to see how much it's gonna cost, so that when we're ready to do it, we'll already have the cost and determine how much it's going to cost. That's all. So, thank you.
In a nutshell, yes.
Aye.
Wait.
Mr. Duran?
It's saying to add it to the capital improvement program. I think we need to change that to not add it to the capital improvement program, but to direct staff to provide council with construction cost of said project. So I think you need to change your.
I amend my motion to reflect that comment.
That's what I was going to say. Thank you.
I beat you to it. Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Do we have anything for items 25, 26, or 27?
No, ma'am.
Make a motion to delete.
Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez, Mr. Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Rene Rodriguez,
Aye.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
8 o'clock, meeting adjourned.
Bye, everybody. Be safe.
Have a good
Take
weekend.
care, guys. Be safe. Chief.